Hello, my friends. I'm Harry, and my subscribers know who I am. You are on the Sci-Fi Film channel. Today is a review of the sci-fi thriller Constellation, in which the main role was played by the popular Swedish actress Noomi Rapace. Now I'll tell you what prevented this project from becoming an outstanding representative of the declared genre. Pros: quite a fascinating and confusing plot in places. Good acting by Noomi Rapace. A large number of visual cues characterizing the duality of the local world order. High-quality technical component. Disadvantages: a drop in dynamics is not always appropriate. The screenwriter's attempts to confuse the viewer with all their might begin to irritate over time, and the main drawback is the significant presence of Russian surroundings in the plot. The International Space Station is hosting an important research mission at the Cold Atom Laboratory. There, as one of the 5 astronauts present on board, Swede Joanna Eriksson admits, they are looking for a new state of matter. Suddenly, the station is hit by an unknown object, resulting in serious injury to one of the crew, who subsequently dies, and damage to the station itself. To assess the extent of the destruction, Joanna goes into outer space, where she discovers the body of a dead woman in a Soviet spacesuit. Given the current circumstances, Jo orders her colleagues to evacuate on the 3-seater Soyuz 2 ship, while she remains at the station to fix the Soyuz 1 malfunctions and escape on it, before capturing the capsule with the research results. But during the renovation work, the heroine begins to see strange things, not to mention the fact that upon returning home, she feels as if everything around her is somehow alien, including her daughter Alice and husband Magnus. You can't draw conclusions based on just the first episodes, although it's very easy to understand anyone who rightly decides to stop watching even before Jo sets foot on the dusty Kazakh plane. At the initial stages, the authors of Constellation, and this is primarily Peter Harness, famous for his work on Doctor Who, are unsuccessfully trying to cosplay Gravity by Alfonso Cuarón. Noomi Rapace eagerly takes up the baton from Sandra Bullock. There is a desperate heroine in a spacesuit, who alone confronts the indifferent, but no less deadly space. There are deceptive glitches, and a trick with a fire extinguisher which helps coordinate the direction of movement in zero gravity. After the second episode, the narrative descends from heaven to earth, again into some apparently bizarre reality. The emphasis is not so much on building up the atmosphere, but on the desire to completely fool the viewer. Some people like this approach, others don't, but it will no longer be possible to dissociate ourselves from the initial unpleasant aftertaste. The narrative takes on a distinct drag, making it extremely difficult to wade through the intricacies of plot lines, dialogues, and awkward editing. This does not mean that the series is not capable of engaging. On the contrary, when the main character tries to figure out why on earth they now have a blue car instead of a red one, or why her daughter no longer speaks Swedish, it looks quite exciting. Globally, the project offers, although far from new, an interesting concept of the multiverse, however the implementation of which raises questions. Here, it is extremely important to pay attention to the small details that the authors generously scatter. Throughout the entire running time, you can notice a bunch of mirror reflections on the screen. Symbolic bridges will appear, equally dividing the frame, or, for example, a reflection of the terrain in the lake will appear. All these hints and visual techniques speak of the dual, ambivalent nature of things and characters. This is where Schrödinger's famous cat comes up in the plot, when one can be considered both alive and dead at the same time. To make the idea clearer, a real cat and its motionless stuffed animal are placed in the frame. However, in contrast to intellectual games with consciousness and a curious interpretation of mysterious events, the creators offer episodes such as, for example, The Seventh, when for almost the entire 50 minutes, the heroes wander uselessly through a snowy area in search of each other. Such literally marking time is not at all beneficial. Noomi Rapace, who after Ridley Scott's Prometheus is not the first to go on a space journey and encounter something inexplicable there, gives a confident performance as a loving wife and mother who finds herself in unusually frightening conditions. Jonathan Banks's strange storyline generally seems unnecessary, as it raises more questions than it answers. The role of little Alice was played by twins Devon and Rosie Coleman, and both girls coped well with difficult roles for a child. Conclusion. In some parallel universe, Constellation would probably be a standout sci-fi thriller. But unfortunately, the Russian presence and the overwhelming desire to confuse the viewer as much as possible are playing a cruel joke on the project. On this optimistic note, I want to end my story about this series. Subscribe and comment. May the strength come with you. Bye-bye.